Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. I figure what better way to celebrate happy hour than with a man who has put more people in rehab than Tom Homan has deported to El Salvador by a lot. Dr. Drew Pinsky is here.
That is probably an accurate number that I have treated probably 10,000 addicts in my day.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a big number.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
But I know something about it as a result. And
Yes.
You mentioned before the mics heated up, I've stopped drinking this year. Me and Joe Rogan have stopped. And
Was that a pact you made together?
No, I made it actually with my wife, who's, I'll leave it to her to say what she's doing because I don't want to reveal anybody's stuff, but I did to support her.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, it's been great. And we just were in Europe until a couple hours ago, and it made such a difference on the jet lag. I mean, as you get older, you really feel this stuff. It's not good for our brain, guys. Not good for the brain. Where's my camera? This one?
Yeah.
Not good for your brain.
No, because when you drink alcohol, it releases
Acetaldehyde, that's in the stomach. But it's more than that. Alcohol is actually one of the direct poisons to many human tissues.
I know, it sucks.
And carcinogenic.
I know,
and
it causes cancer. It's horrible for your stomach. It's bad for your blood.
Only
it's bad
drug
for
we
your
use
skin.
on a regular basis. And,
But it's so fun.
It is fun. And it's,
And I wish it weren't.
I wish, I had my time with it,
Yeah.
right? I'll give it 50 years or so. That's fine.
No, I've boosted up with you. We've had a great time. I
Oh,
always
my
quit
God.
drinking when Drew stops drinking because I feel like you know something.
I'm flashing on the first time I met Kat's now husband, where we drank a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
So,
In a beautiful bar overlooking
in,
Central Park.
In the Mandarin Oriental.
Yes.
Yep.
That's a gorgeous facility.
And I've told her the same thing ever since that day. You know what I told her that night? And I told her every time I see her, I say
You
the
said
same
he's
thing.
so handsome, I want her to kiss him.
No, I did say that. But what I tell her is, I don't know where you can go on this show, but
You can
what I
go
tell
anywhere
her,
you want.
Okay. What I tell her literally is, Kat, don't this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the prevailing wisdom.
I think you
So-
told her something similar.
Yeah. But so did her dad. So did her sister.
We all knew Kat. We know Kat.
She had a bad first date with him and wrote him off. Like, that's it. This guy's a finance bro.
No, he was too good.
He's a and
No, she never said he was. Says
the first night they went
Really?
out, yeah. And then her sister was like, no, go out with him again.
Okay.
And so they went out on a second date, and that was it.
Okay,
Like
well.
second date toher for life.
There's a lesson here, everybody.
So I have to tell you something about her husband because obviously Kat's on TV. We talk a lot about Kat. Her husband, Cam, West Point grad, combat veteran, fought
Army
in
Ranger.
Yeah, it just
Yeah, keeps going.
He's a really impressive person.
Truly.
And worked really hard to get to West Point. He was a student athlete, played lacrosse at West Point, incredibly difficult.
He was a state level ice hockey player.
Oh, wow.
And then switched at West Point to lacrosse.
So, not long ago, my almost 20-year-old daughter and her friend were in a cab. The cab driver would not drop them off, would not let them out of the cab, and it was like a moment of panic. I was on a plane, so I could get her texts.
Ooh.
I could not intervene. I could not get on the phone.
Did you get text about it?
Yes. So she was like,
oh my gosh.
This is so scary. Mom, I don't know what to do. Please help me. This guy won't let us out of the cab. He's been super creepy the whole time. He's yelling at us. He locked all the doors. So I was like, okay, first of all, don't panic. If you panic, you kind of, and
Tip
I was
them
like, second of all, go into a lit place with people. Like, don't run onto a dark street,
Yeah.
find a hotel, a deli, something that's open, a Dunkin' Donuts, whatever, and just go in there, make some noise, get some help. And I texted Cam because he was across the street, and I was like, is there any way, because I was like going through my mind, my legal domestic partner was in the woods, I was on a plane, her sister was
not
asleep.
many people can say those words.
It's true. It's true. That entire sentence. So Cam, at 1:30 in the morning, went downstairs, intervened.
I'm not surprised.
Yes. Yeah. And de-escalated the situation, waited for the police to get there,
Wow.
helped the girls give a police report, and then escorted them to our apartment.
So it was a real deal.
Yeah, it was a real deal. And he stepped up without question. He was like,
Of course not.
I'm on my way. And he went. And it's so funny because they have a newborn baby. And you think when your newborn is sleeping that life will be fine, that you will
That's
once
your one
again.
chance to have some quietness,
Yeah.
to go to sleep for a minute.
And then you have teenagers. And you're like,
It all starts over.
It really does. But
I know, then you have grandkids.
He's such a good guy.
I need to go see them tomorrow. Are they around?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
And just, what an incredible couple.
Yeah.
What Kat has been through and the kind of mom that she naturally has become is just, it's such.
In the face of, I don't know if we should be talking about her medical situation, but she has had some extreme challenges and really risen to the occasion.
Yes, in ways with humor and grace and honesty that very few people would be able to tackle.
Completely agree.
So let's drink our green tea to her.
All right. Oh, I see. So instead of alcohol, I get green tea. Well done.
Yeah.
I like it.
Because you can't cheers with water. Green tea is an antioxidant.
Cheers. Nice. I love it.
Cheers to Dr. Drew and momentary sobriety.
Yeah, I'm not in the program or anything. I'm supporting my wife.
I think that's wonderful.
And by the way, it's a good. I've been really focused on health and wellness the last couple of years, and I'm like, this is of course part of that. It has to be.
And it's like, and I know that, and
you're young enough that you can still get away with a couple more years.
I don't like drinking to the point where I never get hungover, but I hate feeling fuzzy and tired. Oh, and I'll ask you this.
Yeah.
So if I have more than 4 drinks, my neck goes out, my C1. And I have asked a neurologist, I have asked several chiropractors, I have asked physical therapists, and it only happens at that time. And when my neck goes out, it's like vomitous.
And is it you wake up with it?
Yes.
Or does it have? Yeah. So I'm guessing it changes your sleep in some way.
Do you think it's positional?
Something.
Yeah. Do you think like I sleep in a weird position?
Something that you would normally move out of, you just stay.
Interesting.
Something like that, I bet. And again, the muscles loosen from the alcohol. And so that might release whatever was being held in place.
And then it goes into a bad spot.
And it's not... blood supply is not what it should be. It's just all, it's all
cascading.
It's all bad. Immune system isn't what it should be. So I can see how that could affect you.
Yes. So what are you doing in addition to not drinking alcohol in your health and wellness journey?
I'm doing supplements of various.
What kind? Peptides?
No, I'm not on peptides, though I'm looking at that. I
got some peptides.
I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of peptides yet. I'm a big believer in nicotinamide riboside. I'm a huge fan of it. It elevates NAD on a daily basis.
Okay.
Rogan gets NAD infusion.
Yes,
not that Joe is my
I know a bunch of friends. We all go to the same doctor.
Yeah.
And they get NAD shots once a week for 8 weeks, and then you take time off. And
you don't have to do that. You just take nicotinamide riboside. It does the same thing.
Really?
In my humble opinion, I take C15, pentadecanoic acid, which is good for, again, it's all fighting oxidation associated with aging, right? The oxidative, the NAD, the cellular membranes all goes towards oxidative states. The way I talk about it is this. Look, entropy, people don't really, they may not have studied thermodynamics. And the second law of thermodynamics
everyone knows the second law, no one knows the first.
In the physical universe is that entropy is always increasing.
Yes.
So the disorder in the universe is always expanding.
Yes.
It's why all the molecules in this room don't hover in the corner all of a sudden. They're always at maximal
See, I feel like they're gossiping about me. I feel like they are.
They could be, but they still at a stage of maximal complexity.
Yeah.
But that is true of all things in the universe except one thing. For a brief moment, life is a more ordered state for a minute, and then it kind of keeps going again. And part of that, as part of entropy reasserting itself, is oxidation.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I also talked to a friend who gets an infusion to lengthen her telomeres.
Yeah,
she said it's very expensive.
I don't know what she's getting, and I don't know if the telomere lengthening thing is causational or incidental or what. It happens. And lengthening the telomere is probably a good thing, but exactly why it's happening is still mysterious.
Yes. So the Kelly brothers, the astronauts, one of whom is like a commie senator now.
A commie senator.
Yeah, exactly.
You said a comedy senator.
No.
By the way, I was in Europe until a few hours ago, right?
Oh, wow.
And so my brain is completely screwed up. So we're gonna do Gutfeld in a few minutes, you and I, and you're gonna support me. You're gonna make sure I make it through this afternoon.
You're gonna be amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I believe in you.
By the way, you've been doing. My wife and I look at every night you're on there. We just go, oh my God, Kennedy is killing it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh my God, some of the stuff you've been saying has been funny and entertaining, but just so insightful.
Oh.
And so I really appreciate
that. Is a testament to the show and the way it's set up.
I agree, but some people are either you know how it goes. Part of our job is to make fun of Greg.
Yes.
Right, and you do that. You slip that in there. And then some people are just funny.
Yeah.
That kind of and that's great, but that is not really what you're there for. And a lot of people, it's hard to be funny and say something meaningful at the same time. And you do it every time.
So I was talking to a comic who does Gutfeld, and they were like, I prep all day long.
Lisso.
I write all these jokes.
That's Lisso.
It's not Lisso.
He does that too.
Yeah, and he's like, it wasn't Lisso, but he was like, I prep all day long. Yeah. I write all these jokes. I've read all the stories.
And use none of it.
And then Greg asked me a completely different question, and if I answer with my material, it'll look so unnatural.
Yes. So, but I got to say, Jamie Lisso is very good at going at sliding over to his stuff, and it's always hysterical.
And that is a talent.
That is a talent, and that's why I don't do too much prep for the show, because Greg's always goes, Kennedy, do you think that, or he'll go like, Drew, you're a doctor supposedly, and do you think, and he'll just fill it with something that has nothing, and I usually think to myself, well, I could answer that question, but maybe I'll answer a different one, because it's usually about Bazoombagate in Canada or something.
I know.
So, that he let that go. That was on every single time I did the show for about 6 months.
Yeah, because the guy got fired. The guy should have gotten fired for fraud.
Was he trolling?
In a way, but also like deeply mentally ill and grooming and like wanted to over-sexualize himself.
Did he, or was he just super pissed at some of the constraints he was under as a teacher?
That's leaning into, that's borderline projection.
Okay, that's how I do it. I wouldn't be interested in grooming anybody.
I think you can't go that far unless on some level you're a sicko.
Yes, I agree with that. So thank you
for
calling me a sicko.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
So, cold plunges.
Yeah.
What do you think of cold plunge?
Hormesis, that's called, and cold plunges. Adam and I have had Adam and I still do a podcast, for those of you who remember the Adam Carolla days.
Not meaning to name drop, but hello.
Yes, hi, Adam. He'll be pissed that we were together and I wasn't with him. So, but he and I have had many conversations about this, and he has arrived at the idea that it doesn't even matter if there's a net health biological benefit per se. There's a psychological benefit of doing something so miserable and uncomfortable on a regular basis and forcing yourself into it. And it does give you a shot of adrenaline. It wakes you up, right?
Okay, so I love really hot showers. I love it. I live for it. And I always finish every shower with 2 minutes of cold water.
I try to do that too.
Yeah, because I was talking to a cameraman in Alaska, and he's like, I've studied aging for years. He's like, I've become obsessed with the idea of people who live over 100 and the ones who live still fruitful and productive lives. What are they doing? He said, the only thing I can find cross-culturally is cold showers or cold submersion
that makes some sense. I have a couple things to say about that. One is there's all this preoccupation about the blue zones. I read an article recently that said, most of these blue zones are just a bunch of people who lied on their birth date to be able to get their retirement benefits a lot sooner.
That's hysterical.
Isn't that funny?
Yes.
And
but also,
and then
they walk and have like Whole Foods, because they don't have choices. They don't have processed.
I don't object
depots.
to it, right? They're advocating good things. And then the other thing, it occurs to me, I did a show called Special Forces that maybe, Kennedy, you ought to do.
Oh my. That's real. I mean, that's like, they're not screwing around.
They are not. I ended up in the intensive care unit.
Oh, no.
In very short order.
Oh, no.
I can say, much like you could say words about what did you call your boyfriend?
Legal domestic partner?
Domestic partner. Yeah. I can say something that almost, I guess nobody in the world can say. Jamie Lynn Spears saved my life.
Wow.
I can say that.
Yeah, I don't even think Brittany could say that.
No, Jamie Lynn, I got encephalopathic and was getting confused and neurologically out of it. And she grabbed me and took me to the medical tent.
Oh, thank God. Was she lovely?
Lovely.
Were you able...
And weirdly, we're able to what?
Talk about her family trauma?
She talked about it during the show. I wasn't interested. I was interested in kind of knowing her. And she was 10 times lovelier than you could possibly imagine.
Oh, good.
And the weird thing, so my family has a place down in Laguna Beach, California. And next to this condo is this big resort called the Montage.
Oh, I love the Montage.
Okay, so we went over there.
I stayed at one in Mexico a few weeks ago.
Okay, well, this
really
Montage
nice.
in Laguna is one of the kind of the original old school.
Yeah.
And we had been out of the desert where I did my special forces in the Jordanian desert. Oof. It was just brutal. And we'd been out about a week, and I came down to Laguna to sort of convalesce because I just got out of the hospital. And we went to the Montage, And there is Jamie Lynn Spears and her kids and her husband. And we spent the whole weekend with them.
Oh.
And her husband is also the greatest guy in the world.
That's
Owns
really
a
nice.
trucking company and just a great guy.
I mean, but what I like about that is she doesn't feel the need to advertise it, that her life is her own.
She talks about being a mom only. That's what
Yeah.
she's interested in.
Good for her.
I did not expect to talk about Jamie Lynn Spears today, but there it is. And this is anybody that wants to talk about her. Really, you got to examine yourself because she has a crazy life with a sister that's one of the most. She has said this, one of the most famous people on earth overnight.
Yes.
It's wild.
Yeah, and what fame does, and I know that you have seen this, what fame does to the people around the famous person is almost more insane than what the famous person experiences
I totally agree with you.
themselves.
Honey Boo Boo is out there talking about that now. Have you seen her?
No.
She's talking about what her mom did to her and her mom's addiction and stuff. And she's talking about it so dispassionately, it actually scares me. But good for her. She's talking about what it is to be in the public scrutiny as a young child. It has liabilities. It's not often, typically not good. We did, you have a show. Let me promote something.
Please, yes.
I have a show on HBO Max called Hollywood Demons, and we did a whole thing on child stars and looked into a bunch of them. It ended up really bad. And I thought a lot about it and talked to a lot of people about it. And there's so many layers of liability to it. It's not just being famous. It's also, think about a production. When you go into a production, and if you've got some weaknesses at home, your family becomes that little production.
Yes.
It really is a very tight-knit community you become a part of. I remember when we used to do Loveline on MTV, we did it for 5 seasons or something, and I was 34 years old or something when we started that show, and it just ended one day. And I didn't know what to, I was so stunning to me. I was like, you mean I'm not going to see this person? I'm not going to see. What am I supposed to do? Or Chelsea's not going to be. It just as an adult, it was like a sort of a shock to the system.
And you're a stable, rational adult who studies like human physiology and psychology for a living. So you can hover over your own life and take it apart and try and make sense of it. But what about someone who
14,
is codependent?
Codependent, or 12 and was, abandoned or physically abused or God knows what, or didn't have a dad or whatever. And all of a sudden they have a dad in this family system of the production, and maybe for years, right? It can go for 5, 7 years, and then everybody goes, boom, gone. It's not good. It's not good.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I've never thought about
that
aspect of it, but when I went to therapy with Marsha Linehan in 1998. She's like, I don't have room for you. I've got a full slate, but she said, I've never interacted with someone who's famous. And she said, this is actually very interesting to me. I want to see what that did to your brain and how that added to your anxiety and post-traumatic stress and things like that. And it was helpful to both of us, more so to me, because she changed my life.
I've had a lot of therapy. Yeah. Still in therapy.
Good for you.
Yeah. It's good. And part of it is there's a piece that you can't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you do have a public life, you got to talk. You got to take stuff somewhere where you feel safe.
Well, yes, truly safe, because it's like otherwise you're living like a politician.
Ooh, tell me, what do you mean?
It's just like,
because I wouldn't want to do that.
No, but everyone you
model
see.
My whole go ahead.
But you have to have a smile for them, because you never know when someone's going to be like, man, I met that Kennedy from MTV and Fox News, and what a.
No,
it could be that you burned your tongue on Starbucks and you're in a bad mood.
That's right. And so I will model my life after Gavin Newsom. That's what I'll do.
Lie to everybody, take advantage of the system for your own personal gain, and then when your problems fail, the entire state, blame the voters.
The voters, the counties, the cities, and the federal government.
Absolutely.
Anybody but you.
Yes.
But the last time I saw Norm Macdonald, he told this great joke. He opened with it. He gets up there and he goes, I was there with Fred Stoller. Do you know Fred Stoller? I'm surprised we've never been in sort of same circles with us. And they were both performing at the Ice House in Pasadena.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Legendary.
Yep. And Norm gets up and he goes, "Oh man, I just love Bill. Sorry, but I just love Bill Cosby. I love him. I just love this man. I fashion everything I do. I fashion after Bill Cosby, except his comedy. Anyway, so that was a great joke.
God rest his soul.
Yes.
Oh, I it's like I think of the people who you've known and lost, and the people that you've treated and lost. And
hey, I can't. I'm not comfortable talking about a lot of it.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, you and I could talk privately about it, but not. We lost somebody recently too. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Jed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jed the Fish, who was one of my mentors at K-Rock, and that guy. And I was telling someone, and I don't think it was on the podcast. Like, he was the first person who taught me it's okay to be weird. Like, you can be weird as a broadcaster, and as long as you're passionate, like. People will connect with you. People will remember you.
Yeah, he was weird.
Yeah,
he had the crazy laugh.
The crazy laugh, and just he had a bizarre way of looking at the world. Yeah. Because as you're first getting into broadcasting, you want to be perfect, like Katie Couric.
Oh no, but that wasn't the era of broadcasting we were raised in.
Thank God.
By the way, I'm going to talk to a woman today who's covering the Diddy. I have a streaming show, by the way. I should do promotion.
Yes.
It's called Ask Dr. Drew. You can stream it at drdrew.com or else Rumble, YouTube, whatever. But I'm interviewing a woman that's really studying the Diddy trial. And she was complaining about how so much of this stuff is outrageously disgusting imagery and horrible sexual behaviors. And she goes, and nobody seems to raise an eyebrow. And I thought, I think I contributed to that. I think Loveline, we started.
You desensitized people.
I think we started. This is not at all what I intended, trust me. But I think we contributed to this mess we're in. It's an interesting thing to talk about.
I got to talk to his defense team, because the Loveline did it. Defense is one that I didn't see coming, but might resonate with just one juror. That's all they need.
That's all they need.
All right. Well, do great on Gutfeld. Thank you for all
You're
going to
be there with me. You're going to support me.
That's come by anytime.
I will.
The legendary Dr. Drew.
Thank you, guys.
What this man has seen, he can only talk about a fraction of it, but that is the most interesting fraction you will hear all day. This has been Kennedy Saves the World, along with Dr. Drew. Yeah. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.
Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.